This week we watched After the Hunt, directed by Luca Guadagnino.
I know you're a big fan of Luca's work, but I do, and for me, Luca's like very 50-50 for me. Like, I like, me, I like stylistic stuff sometimes, so I enjoyed Challengers a lot. But I felt this lacking. We've seen a lot better movies in the last couple of years with this same substance, particularly we most recently saw Sorry Baby. Tackling this very same subject matter in it's such a better way. Um, I feel like this is like, even though it's funny, I said I like style. This was like more flash in the pan esque style intrigue in a way. It didn't really hold me weight. Like the reveal of what those pictures are. Like we see them like in the first 10 minutes of the movie where Ayo is looking at and finds the pictures. We have no idea what they're about. All we do is cut back to see um Julie Roberts' character burning stuff, looks at the picture, puts it on her wall. She's typing an article, looks at the picture, and until the end, we get the reveal. Like for that to have been such a big thing in the beginning of the movie, and for not to really like they really drew our attention with something like that, and then it didn't matter for like almost the whole movie. Like little things like that stylistically that I did not agree with at all.
Watching this movie was really hard for me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, how can there be so many people who I love? So
Mm-hmm.
many actors who I just like, who I think are amazing, and they're in this movie, and I can't stand it. Like, I just can't. I can't do this. I physically was just like, I need this to be over. Please roll the credits. Every issue I have with Luca as a director, even though I really do think that he is a good director, I think that he's an interesting filmmaker. I like his movies for the most part, but there always were, even in my praise of his films, there were always critiques that
Mm-hmm.
just like patterns that he would do in some of his films. And I think that all of his worst like instincts and patterns end up in this movie here. It's the trying to be ambiguous, but like that ambiguity not leading to
Falls flat,
anything.
yeah,
He does that every time.
yeah.
And that's an issue that I had in Challengers. It's an issue I had in Call Me by Your Name. It's an issue that I had in what was the movie that he had done before that?
The bones
I
and all.
Bones and All. It's like I understand that you don't want to spoon feed your message to anyone. Like I totally get that. And I think that's a smart thing to do. Show not
Mm-hmm.
tell. Like that's the rule, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think your movie still has to have a point, especially when you're dealing with subjects like these. Like you kind of have to say what you need to say about like you have to me it's like you need to have a position on where you fall and not just be like, okay, let's just say a bunch of things that sound like, one side or the other. Let's not actually say they did this in Alex Garland did that in Civil War, which pissed me off. Where it's like you can't talk about like serious subjects and then just be like, well, it's whatever you want to think about it. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you need to have a position on how you feel about it because that's the point of view that we need to, like, as the audience members, we need to see the film through. We can still make our own judgments afterwards. Like we can agree or disagree. That's always up to us once we walk out the theater. But you have to establish what that is, or
Yeah.
else it's just going to be meandering and like pointless, which
It,
is kind of what this movie
this movie, yeah,
was.
it was. I feel like he attempted to create Julia Roberts' character of Alma as like a Tar-like figure, if you remember
Yes.
Tar.
Yes.
Um, and it falls flat because at least she, like in that film, like she has a definite stance. You know where she is. She's not going to deviate from that at all. Where Julie Roberts' character is like really much like, and we talked the other day about, white allyship and kind of things.
Hmm. Hmm.
And she kind of really wants to tote, both lines. And and the interaction between her and Ayo's character at the end, I think surmises her character perfectly where it's been 5 years. She's now dean, and we don't really know what happened with her and her husband post what she did, or if she revealed, her affair or stuff with Andrew Garfield's character that she was having at the time. We don't know any of that. but Ayo is kind of like, oh, I didn't know if I liked you or wanted to be you. But then I realized I can't be you because you don't have any emotion. And she's like, oh, but I'm here now. I'm happy. I have success. Of course, I'm so happy. And Ayo left. The last thing Ayo says is like, but are you really happy? And walks off. Like that, like her drive for power and stuff like that at the absence of actual joy. And I love how that's piggybacked throughout her character, um, mostly with her husband. Like the contrast into like she's very philosophical, book knowledge, but she seems very reserved. Like she doesn't like is not expressive, whereas he's like psychologist. Like he's expressive, emotive. He's going through the house listening to music, that kind of thing. He's cooking. He wears his emotion on his sleeve, and I love how every interaction they always show him initiating contact, and her like those lingering shots, like you said, show not tell. How he would always cut to him touching her. Like we always see the close up of his hand making contact with her. The only time we saw the opposite is when she's first told about Andrew Garfield assaulting Ao's character, where he puts his hands behind his back, and she doesn't really say what it is, but he knows something's wrong, and he goes, "Oh, follow me." He puts his hands behind his back, and she grabs onto his hand, and he leads her out. That kind of thing. They're always shown him initiating contact. He's the emotional one within that relationship, which I thought was a good thing to show. Like it's most directors don't show people's characteristics through their shots, but I thought that was well done when he did that though.
There were good things in this movie. One, I will say the performances from most of the cast. I feel like
phenomenal.
Julia Roberts, like always, is great. So like that was great. Andrew Garfield, really good at towing the line of someone who's like evil, but who presents in a way that seems comforting and warm and whatever. So like I think they did a good job. He's fantastic anyways, but like he did a really good job at playing those different things. Michael Stuhlbarg as a husband, my favorite character in this, he was the thing that I was leaning on like the entire film. I was like, I'm sitting here still because he's in this movie. Julia Roberts' character of Alma is a person who grew up in a very different world than Ayo's character is growing up in today. These women are both passionate, ambitious, like they want power, they want respect, they, whatever. So, but I think Julia Roberts she grew up in a place where it's like, you don't need to be happy in order to get what you want. Like if you get what you want, like that is your happiness.
Yeah.
You personally feeling happy is not relevant. And I feel like you see that in her work and also in her marriage. Ayo's generation, which is I guess my generation and our generation, is like, no, like I want to be happy and I also want the stuff. Like from her perspective, it's like, no, if something happened to me, I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to internalize this just because it might affect my career and my life. Like I'm going to say what I have to say about this, and I want justice and I want the recognition and I want X, Y, and Z. So it's like, it's a very and I think that's what kind of comes into conflict for both of those characters is like they want the same things, but how they are accomplishing those things are very different, and their perspective on these things are very different. So I thought that intergenerational thing was dynamic. Interesting. I thought that was an interesting dynamic to explore. But I also feel like for complex characters, like when I think about Tar, like you mentioned, or a movie like Anatomy of a Fall, where you're not sure like whether she did it or not, I think that can be very compelling. I feel like that's really interesting because it kind of plays with how your
perception of the characters
and your own preconceived notions of like of how you think about these things in general. I think that can be really interesting. I think in this setting though, it didn't really land for me because what I ended up feeling for Julia Roberts' character is not much.
Yeah.
I feel like there's an investment piece that you have to have with the character. And she was such a guarded character that it was hard to like
it was hard to get a read.
It was hard to get anything from her. So I can't feel any kind of way about it, about the ambiguity, about the, the gray areas of her life, because I don't even know who she is.
Well, that goes back to who she is as a character, but doesn't really make me want to engage with her, particularly the fact that she's the main character for majority of the film.
Right.
Like
That's the
I
thing.
don't know anything about this character. How am I supposed to feel about her? And it's not till the end we go, oh, she's just about power. Like when she says, oh, she lied about her father's coworker or friend assaulting her. You know, she said, oh, I just wanted to make her feel the way I did. I wanted to get something out of her. And oh, that's been her pattern. She just so. And then I also find the relationship between all three of them really odd. Margaret is one of her favorite students, but you can't approach her about cheating. But you're also aware of your fellow professor who you have an affair with is also known for making advances to female students. Like, what are you doing with this, Luca? Like, that's like really broad strokes you're trying to create that really like aren't cohesive at all. Did you like that clip? Well, you can listen to the entire podcast because the 16mm Film Crew podcast is available on all major podcast platforms.